This is the silent word.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I found it very interesting. One thing that I read in here that I don't think I realized before, when Baba went to Sai Baba, did he see Upasani Maharaj at the same time? Is that when he was hit in the head with a stone? Because Francis says it was at the same place at the same time.
I thought it was later, but it could have been it could have been. I can't remember. Maybe Mayor Prasad remembers. But
I thought it was later too. But in here he talks about he saw him and then turned around and Upasani was there and threw the stone. So that was something new to me.
He sent Baba over to Kandoba Temple, which we used to be able to go there, and it was just kind of a neglected, kind of rundown temple. This is in the 70s, early 70s, but that's the temple where he stepped out and threw that stone and hit Baba on the forehead. And it's quite I don't know what they've done with that temple now, but it was, it wasn't a part of the the tourist circuit, It was just a neglected, dilapidated place.
And what town was that?
It was within walking distance of Syria.
At the northwest corner of Columbus Avenue and 9th.
Columbus Avenue. Well, I didn't realize that. Patty, do you remember? You've gone to the Kandoba Temple?
Yes, I have a couple times actually, but really, I don't remember. I just remember that I don't know. It didn't seem it was very far, but what can I say?
Yeah. But did he wasn't sent the first time Baba went to Sai Baba? He wasn't sent over there to Kandoba Temple. Maybe he was. I can't remember.
I really don't know. Is it coming up? I just tuned in, so I don't know. Is she referring to Effort and Grace? Is that in Effort? What book is she referring to?
Oh, The Silent Word by Francis Brabazon.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, I have that. I'll look. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm going to be talking with Rick today. He's on their Sahavas today. So.
Rick Chapman.
Yeah, he's doing, and this is awful because everything is so clumped together in Zooming. But his thing is 5 o'clock our time, but it's tomorrow morning in Australia. So I'm going to click into that.
And I think it's on the same trip that Upasani Maharaj threw the stone, if I remember correctly.
Oh, same. Okay.
Yeah, because he bowed down, he prostrated in front of Sai Baba, and after the Parvardigar, he went to the temple, and that's when.
Okay, so
that's what Francis said.
That was a heavy afternoon.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what Baba said to Rick about forget about spirituality, forget about the planes of consciousness and spiritual experience. That's they all talked about that. It's a subtle thing there. Go for the real. That I remember Adi would say the difference between someone on the gross plane and someone on the sixth plane is someone on the gross plane is drowning in 6,000 feet of water. Someone on the sixth plane is drowning in 6 inches of water. But they're still drowning in illusion. So Bob was trying to get us to go for the real and not the higher side of the lower self, which is the spiritual path,
Jeff, could you say that again in the beginning, what Rick said about, I missed the first sentence that you said.
Well, Baba and I this isn't a perfect quote, but Baba said, forget about spirituality. Forget about spiritual experience and the planes of consciousness. And what Rick said is, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, in an instant, Baba relieved me of traveling thousands of miles on the spiritual highway up through the plains to realization. He didn't have to go that way. He could just turn. I think of it at the beginning of the freeway, there's a little side road that you can take. And it links up to the approach road to Marizad, and then you go to Marizad, and that is all about not realizing your spiritual potential, but being effaced, becoming, that's the tavern, Marizad, I think of as the tavern, the Sufi tavern, where you get, you become nobody, happily. As Darwin used to say, sooner or later, you discover you're nobody, and that is not an unhappy decision. A couple of the small short quotes of Baba's I like is, whatever you do with love has perfect results. And whatever you do for me is done by me. Those are great, great truths. They're very simple. Yeah. Well, okay, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba.
I have a quick one from my phone. It's Avatar Mayor Baba, New Delhi, 1939. The world is in a state of fear and perplexity. No one knows what is going to happen, but wait and see. I know all, the present and the future. Nothing can stop the work that I am here to do. Am I not the Avatar? The world will know it soon and accept me as such. Be patient, be calm, be steady and firm as a rock in your faith and love for me. Mayor Baba, from a letter to Delia de Leon, 1938.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marcia. That's very, very timely and apt. So you, everybody, most everybody here knows the routine. And Angela, wherever she is, oh, she's in the center. She will,
I moved.
he will kind of trap you and track you down and ask you to read. But don't feel that you have to say yes. You can pass. And so we'll read section by section, and if you have any questions or you want to share any experiences that relate to what Darwin has said, feel free to chime in. Last time we spoke about, I can't remember exactly, but we spoke about the completeness. One of the things that Erich felt from Baba that the Mandali enjoyed was he gave them the feeling of completeness, not just when they were with him, but after Baba dropped his body, they felt complete. They didn't need anything the way most people in the world do. And this next section is Darwin talks about an experience he had from Baba in 1954, where he was trying to give things to Baba at an inner level. And at one point he came up against an obstacle, and we'll read that. And Baba removed that chunk of himself, and he felt like complete and whole and blissful. But what I gathered also from the Mandali, it's possible to feel complete even if you're in suffering or in pain. It doesn't require that you are at peace, and it's, and I'll give you an experience of mine from back in the 70s in Mandali Hall. We were sitting around, and 20 or 25 of us with Erich, and Erich was sharing stories of Baba, and he would field questions. And at one point I was looking at him, and I saw through a window that I don't normally see through. And I said to Erich, Erich, I have a feeling that if I were to inhabit your body for a half hour, all I'd want to do is go unconscious and asleep. And he gave such a such a flash of acknowledgement. And what I meant is, I could see the suffering that he was able to bear. And I know if I went in to inhabit his body, I would just be crushed. I could feel that. But Erich was complete in that. It wasn't like most of us, if we were in that kind of suffering, we would be thinking of some future or some past where we could get out of this suffering, but then we would be incomplete because we would be, we wouldn't feel complete until we were reached a place outside of pain in the future, or dreaming about the past, remembering the past when we weren't such. But he was in the present with this great suffering. Now, that doesn't mean that you, that if you're sick, you don't go to the doctor. But Erich, from my experience of him, he would be complete with the sickness, and he would be complete when he went to the doctor and got well. He would be complete with those. He didn't leave the present moment to go anywhere, not energetically. He was complete in the present, accepting life as it is, and he accepted himself. And so that's a different aspect of completeness that's not based on peace and bliss and joy, but it's possible to be complete even in pain, even if you got a headache or whatever. So that's another aspect of the feeling of completeness that Baba awakens in us, an acceptance in the present. So anyway, that's my little spiel. So, Angela, where are we?
All right, we are on page 107. That's page 63 of the PDF.
So I'll read the last paragraph out of the previous one so that there is context for this.
Yeah, good.
Sometimes out of compassion for us in our struggles, purely out of his own sweet grace, he reveals to us that he is indeed our divine shepherd, and that we are completely in his most loving care, forever safe within the timeless security of his eternal being. One time, Baba gave me an experience of this. The complete story. It happened when I was one of the 18 fortunate men who were Meher Baba's guests in India for 3 weeks in 1954. This was later described as the 3 incredible weeks. I had been following Baba since 1932, and I had met him in 1934. In 1952, I spent quite a bit of time with him in America and had drawn very close to him inwardly. So this trip to India was the fulfillment of an almost impossible dream, to be with the Divine Beloved in his heartland on an intimate basis. I had always experienced him as the Christ, and sometimes, in India especially, seeing him as the Christ was so startling and astounding that I could never find the words to describe how tremendous it was. One day, I was standing on Mehrabad Hill, thinking of how wonderful it was that I happened to be one of the few men who were there as Baba's guests. I knew there must be thousands throughout the world who deserved to be there more than I did, but I decided to respond by doing what I could do to work inwardly with Baba and whatever he was doing within me. I found myself plunged into a much deeper level of consciousness, a more subjective level, and found I was able to work within and consciously single out various sanskaric patterns and complexes that were impeding my spiritual progress, like debris littering the path within. I started to understand them more and more, and thereby was able to cast them off completely. It was like walking through a forest, pushing aside the undergrowth. I could see where I had misjudged some things and drawn the wrong conclusions about other things. All those things that create a sense of bondage in our consciousness. I was able to work with them, to see through them, discard them, and work toward Baba within, closer to divine love and toward truth. And I was able to work quite well. Through clearing out the sanskaras, my consciousness was able to enter more expansive, freer levels of seeing and being within. Curiously enough, I did not realize that Baba was precipitating this whole experience within me, which he did without any ceremony or outward sign, just through inward working. In parenthesis, he was not physically with me, he was in Mehrazad. This went on for 2 or 3 days, and I made what I thought was very good progress, when suddenly I came to an unceremonious halt. I encountered a subtle blockage within. At the physical level, I experienced it in the solar plexus area, and I could not do anything with it. I was unable to go any further. But I thought, well, I'm happy that I've gone as far as I have. That is a blessing in itself. It never occurred to me that Baba would do something about it. Then one day, I was with Baba on Mehrabad Hill, along with several other people. Baba was about 10 or 15 feet away from me, when suddenly a great wave of divine fire, power, light, grace, beauty, and love from Baba swept right through me. It swept that blockage away, and a lot more besides. It all happened in a flash from the eternal. And this was not something outside of Baba, but was within the aura of his love being. It was so powerful that I was stunned. I realized that nothing could stand in the way of Baba's irresistible force when he released it. I just stood there for a few seconds thinking, what happened? Sometimes when something astounding occurred around Baba, words from the Bible would come to my mind. And in this case, what came to my mind was a passage from the 23rd Psalm. Quote, "He restoreth my soul." This is what I felt. I became aware of my soul, and I experienced a sense of fulfillment and a sense of being complete within Baba's loving being. I felt I had instantly been restored to wholeness, to completeness. I experienced complete bliss, complete freedom, unlimitedness, and timelessness. I was totally blissful and utterly free. Nothing could be added. I had no need for anything else. No desires of any sort at all. This was truly a revelation. It was not that Baba made me complete. He just lifted some veils and revealed the fact that not only am I already complete, but we all are already complete. Simply by being with him in his radiation, in his atmosphere of spiritual freedom, we are sustained by his grace, and we experience our completeness. After a few moments, Baba and the group started walking down toward Lower Mehrabad, where Baba was going to light the Dhuni fire. I kept saying to myself, Baba is the Dhuni fire, the fire of divine love. This is one of the greatest experiences I ever had with Baba, and it is still functioning within.
Ooh, beautiful. Anybody had that experience?
Not lately.
Next weekend. Any comments or any questions?
Cindy, go ahead.
Last week, I was in Ojai and went to Mayher Mountains. You guys who were on last week know, and I had an experience up there that was incredible and amazing, and just the space and the spaciousness. And when I got back the next day, my friend who I was with, I mean, there's so many stories about what Baba did that week, but she was telling me about this specific type of healing modality that she had worked with someone to help rewire the brain for those saboteur voices. And we all have a flavor of how those different voices might get at us, whether it's through food or relationships. And I was feeling Baba standing there, and then these voices in my head coming, standing next to him, and then he just wiped them out. And since that time, there's a specific modality that has to do with food or eating or my body that it's always been the way my ego would get at me. They've been quiet. And so when reading this just now, I thought about that. I didn't go through the 6-month program or whatever it was. I just felt Baba and Baba's energy, just like enough of that.
Beautiful. I know this still happens today, these kind of experiences with Baba. I know we've all had many of things wiped out just spontaneously like that. Anyone else?
Stuart?
Yeah, I could share a little. I've said something about this in my teenage years, 15, 16. I had what is still today the most profound experiences consciously I've ever had with God. And this unfolded over the course of maybe a year or so, something like that, kept increasing. And God would bring a knot of blockage in me more and more close to my consciousness, to my awareness. And he'd bring it finally right in front of me. And they were difficult, they were painful, but they're all my self-created limitations. And I had to face them the best I could, wrestle with them. And so I feel like I relate to what Darwin's saying. And then when I'd wrestled the best I could, he would simply lift them, take them, gone. And I'd say, what happened? Like Darwin did. And this went on and on. And then finally, right around the very end of the experience, at the height of it, one day he suddenly took me in my solar plexus, brought me inside there, and there was this beautiful, pregnant, infinite white light. And God beckoned me inside, and I stepped inside, and it was utter clarity, and I could see and feel there are no more knots coming at me. There was this freedom, this utter freedom, and I felt totally complete, just totally. And I remember thinking, I was 16 years old, I could die. I'm at peace. I'm resolved. And God said to me, this is who I am, this infinity. And he said, this is who you are, and this is who everybody is. They just tell themselves there's something else. So that's my share.
Beautiful. But then he kind of brought you out of that, right? Somehow.
Well, then it very painfully all gradually disappeared and fell apart. And then several years later, Baba let me know that had been him, that experience with God. And I said, what do I do now? And he said, now it's your turn to work your way back to me. Good luck.
And you've been working at that ever since.
The last 50 years, yeah.
Well, you got to where you're working at the center where you get to be in his atmosphere so much.
Yeah, that's the truth, yeah.
That's a great help. Okay, there's some other people.
And Ruth, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to come and work at the center. I could use that help. Here's mine. It was many years ago, probably my first or second stay at the center, and I was in the lagoon cabin, and I was sitting at Bob's feet there at the by his chair, and all of a sudden, all the trash and garbage thoughts that I had had for I don't know how long came spewing forth. And just one after the other, all the internal backbiting and just all the gack, the mud, it was just so awful. It was like vomiting. And I was just sitting there weeping and looking at these one after the other terrible things that I had thought or said or did. A lot of it was internal, it wasn't as much action as what my internal brain would bring forward about a situation, a person. It just went on. And finally, I just said, well, if I am such a piece of shit, why did you bring me here? And I am not leaving this spot until you tell me. I'm not leaving. I'm just going to sit here. And so I did. And then within just a few minutes, it was in July, so there was not a breeze to be begged for on the center. But there was a big hydrangea, a blue hydrangea in one of the vases next to Baba's chair. And all of a sudden, that flower just started to nod its head at me. And I said, oh, okay, good enough. I'm out of here. And I just took that as a sign that Baba was acknowledging me, because there was no breeze that moved that flower's head. It moved in my heart. It moved on its own. And I remember mentioning it to Bob Brown, and he put it in a song about how even the flowers nod their heads in sweet reply. And I don't know, I just got up and I just went up to the green cabin where I was. The girls stayed there then. And I just melted like water into my bed, because I had not, everything I had seemed to have been brought out of me, and just laid at his feet, and it was good enough. So that's what happened for me.
Beautiful. God, so touching.
Thank you.
We'll have to have you sing that song sometime, but if you remember how it goes.
I do.
Good. I didn't know that came from that line. Lovely.
Even the flowers. Jai Baba.
Nod their heads in sweet reply. And even the flowers, even the flowers, even the flowers nod their heads in sweet reply.
Jai Baba.
Beautiful.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, this is actually a question for anyone here. Darwin talks about inner work, meaning examining our misconceptions, misprojections, and basically trying to clear them out by being aware of them and replacing them with true values. I've also heard many times Esfandiar saying inner work, and I don't know if he meant inner work to be the same as what Darwin is referring here or something else.
Any answer to that?
Yeah, I believe that Esfandiar was talking about going into the dell within the core, which is actually just below the heart and the rib cage. And I believe that that's what he meant by the work. But I feel it overlaps with Darwin too, talking about the same source.
Yeah, Darwin here is talking about a lot of the psychological complexes and everything, working through the, like you said, the forest of all of that, and to get to that deeper place within. And Esfandiar, by the time we met him after, 50 years with Bob, or 55 years, he was moving toward the divine qualities that are at the very depth of us. And he was trying to get to that place. Well, he would say he was able to leave his mind at the threshold and go with his soul into Baba's being. And that was the inner work that he was preoccupied with by the time we met him. So he had kind of moved through a lot of the psychological complexes and hang-ups and the lower values, and he was just going for the ocean. In fact, he said when he went into that deeper place, if he had an image, every image was Baba. If he had no image before his consciousness, then he was in the ocean, the divine ocean of love. So he was just kind of moving from the formless aspect to the form, back and forth. That was his preoccupation. And Darwin was doing much the same thing, but he would talk about the kind of stuff that we're dealing with, is trying to get to that deeper place, the heart of hearts. Yeah.
The continuous working of grace. This was just a little glimpse of Meher Baba's omnipotence and how his grace works at times. There was never any outward sign between us, but he knew that I knew what was going on, and I knew, and I knew that he had done all of this. I find that even though he is out of his physical body, he knows in this mysterious way to sweep away one's sanskaras and to give one a sense of merging with him in total bliss. So I know these things can still happen. There is no need for the wanting machine to keep running. As long as the wanting machine is going, we cannot experience our completeness. It is only when we stop the wanting machine that we stop repudiating the fact that we are already complete. This completeness was revealed to me that day, along with the realization that nothing can be added, because one experiences total bliss. So there is no need to desire to be anything or to have anything. And there's no room left to think of oneself as being advanced or not advanced or anything of that sort, because everyone is complete.
Any comments?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. As I've said, quoted Darwin many times, sooner or later you discover you're nobody, and that is not an unhappy discovery. So you're relieved of being somebody in the world, and you're relieved of being a spiritual somebody. You're not tempted. You're just fine as you are, even if you're nothing special, quite ordinary.
Go ahead, Tina.
I feel a little bad because I've never had any experiences like some of these other people have had.
It's not necessary, though. I mean, you're trying to draw closer to them, and they are. And plus, once it's in the past, we're all in the same boat in the present. Whatever we had, we have to. There's a line from a Zen. Every day you have to climb the 1,000 steps to the temple. you can't do 250 today and 250 tomorrow. You know, you have to go the whole way each day. So whatever you had years ago, it comes down to this moment, how to get to the deepest place in this moment. Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking like, maybe I'm okay. Maybe he doesn't need to pull all this stuff out of me.
Say that again?
I was like, maybe he doesn't need to pull this stuff out of me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you're quite all right.
You know, you mentioned that several times that Darwin said it's not an unhappy discovery that we find out we are nobody. But is there a time from now until then where there is a period in which there is fear that you are nobody? Does that happen?
Yeah, you feel like, that's a good question, where you feel kind of uncomfortable with the fact that I do feel like the relief that you get in not having to put your energy into being somebody, the relief of that is very affirming. I have to ponder that. Anybody else can respond to that.
Sometimes I experience fear, so I don't know if that is, you know, fear to let go, you know, of me being nobody. You know, there is a fear associated with it. So I don't know if that is. I don't know what that feeling is.
Yeah. I do think that fear is worthy of investigating. I mean, to observe it. What is its nature? I know I once followed fear for 4 months. And I didn't really discover anything except that I kind of made friends with it. So that it wasn't, the fear didn't make me feel afraid. It was just another experience going by. But it's worth, it's one of the core things. I think that solar plexus experience that Darwin had may have been associated with a fear that Baba just removed. It's one of the deepest complexes within us.
Just going to say something like you just said, Jeff. I think you answered the question about fear. That I certainly experienced that and have to work with it from the point of view of the ego being afraid of losing itself. It's rather a scary proposition.
Yeah.
So, seems to be part of the trip.
Yeah, I think it's very understandable.
Mayor Prasad, I don't know if I totally understand the question right and try to answer it based on what I think. I feel like something that's helped me with that whole notion of the ego death and the fear of being nobody. I experience having to be somebody as an anxiety producing thing. And I can see, how when going on a job interview and just what are they going to think of me, and I have to be this kind of person that fits this mold, and there's so much anxiety that comes with that. And I just see in all these little situations in life that wherever you have to maintain the self-concept of, who Anthony is and how people see him and this and that there's just a pure anxiety, at least for me, with having to care about that or maintain it. And so it's just, the little glimpses I've had of just the feeling of, kind of not being there. It's almost just like that not having to maintain that anymore. You can kind of just be present and be in the flow and, go to the job interview and just kind of be empty of yourself and let the right responses just come when the person asks you instead of having to think about it. And I feel that struggle of that back and forth. And when I'm not there as much, like me, ego, it's just like there's a natural flow to things. And then when I feel the self-concept come back, it's just this burdensome, anxiety-producing thing. So I don't know, that's what I kind of felt with, maybe that would be a good thing to realize you're nothing, is because there's just no more having to maintain any of this burden of having to be anything anymore. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful.
Anthony was on the same vein of what I was thinking too. What arose for me was, it's Baba playing Patty. And so if I can see the play of life as a play of life and as a character in the play of the ocean, as one of the droplets being Patty, then I can see the thought that's propelled by the identity form, claiming ego, as Patty, and know it's really Baba. And there seems to be a space in there that somehow that I've been equating through effort and grace, where you give that opportunity or breath of spaciousness, that it's the source through you who's actually propelling you. And it's the identity with the form. It's the same thing that I think that Anthony's talking about too. The older I get, the less I give a hoot. When I was hairdressing and running businesses, and when I thought I was running the business, then of course there was all kinds of confusion and words and stories and fear and not being good enough kind of a thing. But really, when I start shifting the view of where I am focused, and then that's just, we can call it laying it at Baba's feet, cloaking ourselves and dressing ourselves in Baba. And when these thoughts arise, Baba, you want me to be fearful? Well, probably not. We don't want to worry. That's not going to help anything through us. So, it's just how we maneuver the acting. It's just like a great actor. He convinces you. The great actor takes his role on and plays everything of that role so perfectly that you really believe that he's that character. But he goes home at night and he takes all that off. So, and he's who he is. He's not that character. So we have to remember we're really not this character. We're a part of the play of life.
Beautiful.
By Mayor Baba. By Love. Love wrote the play. I'm pretty sure of that one. Jay Baba.
Yeah, very good, Patty. I know these things are hard places to get to, because it can be an existential threat, so, and it's hard to get some space between ourself and fear so that we don't become fear. That's talking about the inner work. That's what, a lot of what Darwin was talking about.
Yeah, during that awakening experience with God that I was talking about, and he kept bringing up these dark knots in me for me to face, and then he'd take them one after the other, and then reached a point where I had this fear, well, if you're taking all this from me, God, what if there's nothing? There's just this void that's left. And he said to me, just trust me. And so I went with him. And instead, what unfolded was this expanding closeness in him and his world.
Excellent. Yeah. We brought that up one time with Darwin when we were giving things to Baba, this back in the early 70s, and we kind of started feeling a void behind it all, and that was kind of scary. And Darwin kind of made this gesture. Now bring it up. There's fullness behind. After you give all this up, you're going to come into fullness and not a void. But he said it with enough authority that he allayed our fears about that. But it's understandable because what if you're just a zero? I mean, a void. It's terrifying.
And Anthony?
Just real short. I was just thinking about the paradox of the everything and the nothing, that when you become nothing, you become everything. And I remember Mickey Singer talking about that one time. He was just saying, he was like, guys, this isn't too hard to understand. He's like, your consciousness is focused on yourself all day. Your consciousness is infinite. He's like, when you take your focus off of your little you, your consciousness is free to be everything else. So
beautiful.
Yeah, so he's like, by becoming nothing, by emptying out of you, you get to be everything else. And yeah, it's just such a paradox to it. It seems like it would, like you just said, Jeff, like there would be a void or a nothing, but it turns out that void or that nothing contains everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, beautiful. Well said.
As a result of Mayor Baba's love gift of restoring my soul to completeness, wherein I was, through his divine grace, blissfully relieved of the burdens of wanting or desiring anything at all, having everything in his love, I came to see that the concept of spiritual advancement is really a misnomer that keeps one's consciousness involved in the illusion of egoic acquisition, however refined. This concept is predicated on and supported by our sense of incompleteness, which fosters our inclination to gain or achieve something that we think we do not already have. It binds our consciousness to a sense of future fulfillment, thus making us feel dependent on time, which is itself a creation of Maya. There is a difference between spiritual advancement and liberation from the Mayavic illusions that bind us to wanting or desiring, even wanting or desiring spiritual states of consciousness in order to experience fulfillment. Eventually, we will have to face and be blissfully satisfied with our completeness. If we can stop the wanting machine and work in the forest of our sanskaras, shedding the light of truth on them, trying to understand and then dispose of them, with Baba's help, we will gain momentum and move closer toward God, toward Baba within, and toward truth. And we will begin to experience our own completeness.
Beautiful. Hey, Dorothy, can you read that first sentence again? That's one of the most incredible sentences.
As a result of Mayor Baba's love gift of restoring my soul to completeness, wherein I was, through his divine grace, blissfully relieved of the burdens of wanting or desiring anything at all, having everything in his love, I came to see that the concept of spiritual advancement is really a misnomer that keeps one's consciousness involved in the illusion of egoic acquisition, however refined.
That is a paramount statement. Incredible. All in one sentence.
Yes.
This may not be related, I don't know, but I just remembered this quote or couplets that Adike Irani used to recite. It's a poem from some Urdu poet. I don't know who the name is, but it goes like Tarke Dunya, Tarke Ukba, Tarke Maula, Tarke Tark. Tark means renounce. So Tarke Dunya is renounce the world. Tarke Ukba means to renounce the other world, which means the spiritual planes and all that. Tarke Maula, renounce God realization and anything to do with the master. And then Tarke Tark, finally renounce renunciation itself. This was one of his favorite poems he would recite a lot of times.
Beautiful. Yeah, that excellent quote. Yeah, there's a Sufi saying, the renunciation of renunciation is renunciation. But that's even better. Beautiful. Great that you remembered that. I mean, basically, this is about even renouncing the spiritual in favor of the real with Baba. I mean, this is radical, to go for the real and not the refined spiritual realm, even turning away from that. I mean, most people, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going into the spiritual, but it's a spiritual bypass if you can turn away from that and go directly to Baba. And simplify the whole thing. I mean, not that it's, I mean, we benefit. There's a line that the river of the world is constantly being purified by the saints who sit on its banks. So it's good that there are people up there, but we don't necessarily have to go up there on the plains. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how advanced Michael DaCosta got before he died, but his poem, Fall, is all about that. And I think it's really worthwhile finding and reading. It just happened to be on the Spirit Meher Center weekly thing the day before he died. So I thought it was really amazing and wonderful.
Yeah, he's a long time Baba lover from England. And one of the beautiful things that he used to express is that the Master's prayer, if you read it, it's about, you know, the impersonal God, but it is also a description of our own spirit. It's a description of ourselves at the deepest level. So it's he would read that as for most of it as a description of his own real self.
But in the context of the discussion, his whole life was so dedicated to Baba and to performing and trying. To me, he really expressed a lot about my journey, and I'm sure other people felt that way. But then he lost all of that. He had nothing to hold on to of anything with Baba, and then just, you know, it was just all taken away from him completely. This whole, you know, journey and his efforts, and then he came to total peace about it. But it was really dramatically descriptive of, I think, what we're talking about.
Yeah. Into the world of being. He got out of the world of doing into the world of being toward the end of his life. Okay.
And Cindy?
Yeah.
I used to always think that if God said to love me, that it was God's inadequacy in some way, that, you know, God loved him. Why? You're God, you love me. I'm, you know, I'm down here. And I had this experience yesterday and today then of Artie. There was this point where I looked at a picture of Baba and I felt all this amazing love for Baba that all of a sudden transcended me. And I felt like I was the attributes in the O Parvati Garg prayer. And I felt like I was loving all of creation. And I had this kind of knowing, it's like, that's why we love God. Then we merge with the creator aspect of, you know, when we love Baba, we merge with the creator God too. And in the RT today, when I was doing the beloved God prayer, I thought, that's what it means to become worthy of union with you, to love you more and more and more. And then you merge, like worthy, or until you are no more, I think is what Eric said was like the original line there. And I felt that bliss of loving everyone and everything. I can't even describe it in words for a couple moments. And since that time, I have just felt a sense of deep peace, like this wanting machine, at least temporarily, you know, or whatever, dissolved and just being.
Yeah. Great. Every little victory that Baba performs in us is a victory for all of us, you know.
It just reminded me of a story in my life. When I was 16, I was waiting in the practice room of for my violin lesson, and it was waiting, so I had a little time, and I had recently learned transcendental meditation, and they had told me that, well, if you're 16, you should meditate for 16 minutes. So I said, oh, I have 16 minutes. So closed my eyes, and I went into the little mantra they gave me. And all of a sudden, I suddenly melted into everything, into the whole universe. And I felt I'd never experienced anything like that. And I started to be nervous, sort of what was being discussed about losing the ego. Like, I mean, only 16, but I was so scared. I was scared, but I was wanting to experience it at the same time. And then I heard a voice, which I later guessed it must have been Baba, and it was very clear, and it said, "Don't be afraid. Just let go, keep going." So I went further, and in fact, it said, "Where are you going to go?" Because I was afraid I was going to get lost in that vastness. So where are you going to go? So I went on, and eventually I did indeed come back to myself and kind of a whole different human being, but went into my violin lesson and had no one to talk to about it. There was nobody in my life that was, you know, inclined towards such things, and certainly the transcendental meditation people were not of that ilk. They just taught you a mantra, you know, basically. So I think that was just an example. I remember that wonderful experience. Yeah.
And you came back not from the void, but from the fullness.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I wouldn't say that made me never afraid again about losing myself. I think for me, that was very young and everything, but I've experienced many times going to the edge, and then sometimes again feeling fear. I mean, it's certainly not like, there's plenty to observe, as you say, Jeff, you know. Yeah. But it's chipping away at it.
Well, I just interject here. Baba wanted to push Muhammad the Must from the 3rd to the 5th plane. Now you're really in good place. I mean, you know, and he was afraid. Yeah. You know, because you're going to an unknown. To leave the known to go to the unknown, that hits the human imagination, and the human imagination can have a field day with that.
Yeah.
So even up on the plains, it can be a little scary to be moved. Yeah. To a different location, so to speak. Yeah.
And Robin.
I'm just remembering when I was a little kid, I was having just like a discussion with my brother. He's a year and a half older. I was probably about 7 or 8 or something. And all of a sudden, I just kind of like looked in his eyes, and I knew that if I didn't look away, I was gonna get like annihilated. You know, in those like monster movies where they'd have the electricity going like this, and all of a sudden it would connect into a line. You guys are too young, I guess, to remember that. But anyway, it felt like I didn't have the wiring to hold the amount of like electricity that was going to happen if I let it continue or connect. And so I like, you know, had to pull away from it. It was just so, just beyond like anything that I could imagine. But, and I wanted it so much, but it was terrifying at the same time. And it happened a couple of times. And one time I asked him, like, is this happening to you too? I mean, it felt so real. And he kind of said, yeah, but he kept talking. So I don't know if he really did. And we've talked about it. And I've had it happen actually a couple of times with other people too. But it's so powerful. But it's very frightening to just feel like you're going to be totally annihilated. Yeah. Pretty exciting though. I wouldn't mind having it again now. Try it again with a different outcome.
Yeah, I was just going to say that what Jeff had brought up about even like a 5th plane or 6th plane must doesn't want to make that final trip across the abyss to God realization. He's scared. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
From the known to the unknown. Yeah.
And Heidi, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share how special this group is, because someone I know in another group, a Big Baba group, had watched one of the Zoom sessions of Effort and Grace. And I happened to be on the video because I had said something. And he said to me, boy, that was pretty bold of you sharing books and sharing this and that. He said, we could never do that in a Baba meeting. We would be judged. And I said, but that's not what Effort and Grace is. Totally free. The whole structure of Effort and Grace allows people in the room to not only embrace what Darwin's telling us and sharing with us in his experiences, but to do so freely, without judgment, and to share our mystical experiences together as a group, which is what Baba wanted, right? This is what helps us. And I thought I wasn't brave at all. It was this group that allowed me to be open to sharing it and to, turning the fear that we all talked about today kind of inside out. And when you turn it inside out, you get love.
Yeah.
You just get love, and then you get an ability to be nothing and allow God's grace, Baba's grace, to infill you to completeness. And I thought, well, then what happens after that? And I know every single time I allowed myself to experience that, Baba has given me an opportunity to be of service in the way that Baba wanted me to, with my uniqueness, and can't always be there, but there's something in the Christian metaphysics that I know Darwin knew about, called this concept of trusting your divine design, they call it. And so you're really in a place where you're allowing, with no fear, you're allowing completeness to be with you through God's grace. And then you can be yourself, and you have no interest in anything really, just being in that space. But this group is very important and special. And there was a comment made at the Baba meeting about the center yesterday. I was in there. I was in that room, and when folks were asking about ideas or different things the center might do, the Circle of Friends kept coming up. Well, go to Circle of Friends because they have this. They do this. It's like yay, and it was just so special that I felt the whole idea of effort and grace, and even Circle of Friends. When you think about it and you look at the calendar, you can even see how it's complete. It has a flow to it. It has a willingness to be in Baba's completeness for anybody and everybody, as you say, to take part in it in their own way, to love Baba in the way everybody can love Baba. So I just wanted to say this.
Thank you.
And you can't end these groups when the book is finished. We have to start over.
Yeah. But thank you. Beautifully said.
It is true.
Yeah. No, what a beautiful book that brings us all out like this. Martha.
If you have a question and then a statement of how I am now and then how I used to be. I feel like when I was younger, I feel like I had some interesting experiences. I used to meditate a lot and they felt like they were spiritual experiences. I remember, a few times I felt like I would leave my body and I feel like, my memory of it happened a few times, is that I would help people when they were dying. I mean, I know that's really strange, but I would feel like that's what I was doing. And it was some of it very fearful, like leaving and then coming back. But now I don't meditate, I don't have any of these experiences anymore. And I almost feel like there's a brick on my head that just, a lot of times I feel like I'm not focused like I should be, like I'm at these wonderful meetings all the time and everybody's talking amazing. And sometimes I'm scattered and I'm wondering, how do I get back? I don't know if it's better to go back where I was or should I be meditating, or how do I get the focus? I don't know if that's a question or what.
That's good. Oddly enough, Baba does kind of, I've found, and from, so many people, that he kind of removes a lot of this stuff until you come to the present moment and you live your present moment with love. And it does all of those things that you might have been done in, at a dream level or a psychic level. All of that is being done, but you're not aware of it. I remember Dr. Harry Kenmore had tremendous powers, healing powers, and he could cast out spirits from people, he told me, and he could give an adjustment from a distance, remote control, where you could hear your vertebrae going into place and he wasn't even touching you and all that. But when he met Baba, he said Baba put a curtain around him, and his whole thing was just to remember Baba. And Baba cut off all of those things that he was able to do previously. And he was left to remember Baba in this moment. Some of those abilities still kind of happened, but they were kind of happening unconsciously.
But I do feel very complete and much happiness, not complete like Darwin, but
yeah.
I feel very happy and content, but I guess that's what counts, and that we have all these wonderful gatherings like this.
Yeah, Erich said that, in that state of completeness, he said if someone came along and offered God realization, the Mandali wouldn't even be interested in. They're already complete. What do they need God realization for?
Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
Hi.
I'm here to echo what Martha just said. I find myself sometimes becoming so overwhelmed with words and Baba. I don't know. I just find myself becoming overwhelmed. It's like I get full and then I'm too full and I have to step away and I have to have time, quiet time alone, because I have to allow whatever is happening to happen, or I have to allow what's processing to process. I have to allow Baba and I to have time alone. I'm not sure what it is, but I do know that there are times when I cannot take in what's being offered in my Zoom room here in different forms. So it's important for me to have my time by myself with just Baba and I, quiet time, silent time, outside of the word form. For whatever that's worth, Martha, I kind of get that. I feel that too. So I just have to own it. I name it and claim it. Thanks.
Good. No, it takes a while to absorb a lot of this stuff and let it sink in. So it becomes, it finds a place within your heart, but not necessarily immediately. Yeah.
Spiritualizing our lives. We have to feel in our heart of hearts that only God is real. He alone exists. He is in us all. He alone is to be loved. God and God alone. Mayor Baba. Mayor Baba is spiritualizing the world. And as time passes, more and more people will, quote, sing the tune, unquote, of the spiritualized life. Baba's work, not only with his disciples, but with all of humanity, is to raise our consciousness from the bondage of the material realm where we are caught in the conflict of opposites, and to change our focus from the exterior creation to him, to God, so that instead of being dictated to by the opposites, our impulses will be dictated by him. The new task for humanity is to learn how to begin relinquishing the false self.
Keep on going ahead too.
Okay?
Yeah.
A temple on earth. Mayor Baba explains quite a bit about the life of the spirit, not only in the discourse so named, but also in various other discourses. He says, quote, "The life of the spirit is the expression of infinity, and as such knows no artificial limits," unquote. He also says, quote, "When once true adjustment between spirit and matter is secured, there is no phase of life that cannot be utilized for the expression of divinity," unquote. Spirit is our true identity. We really are spirit having a physical experience, whereas most people mistakenly believe we are a body and that we might have a spirit. Spirit is that part of us that goes on after we drop the physical body and is our real life. But when it is tied in with the mind and the ego and misconceptions about values, it can develop cravings and identify with those cravings. However, Baba makes it clear that the physical body is important in the spiritual life. It plays a vital part in the dynamic of spiritual unfoldment. In fact, realization merging with the divine beloved has to take place while one is in the physical body. What Baba says about the body is really to be taken literally. Quote, "If the body yields to the claims of the spirit as it should, it is instrumental in bringing down the kingdom of heaven on earth. It becomes a vehicle for the release of divine life. And when it subserves this purpose, it might aptly be called the temple of God on earth."
Lord, remember, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there's hatred, let me sow love. At St. Francis.
Go
I
ahead,
think
Ruth.
Larry had a question there. Larry, what do you say? What are the physical implications of that statement?
What are the physical manifestations of that attack?
Implications.
The physical implications or the I mean, you do feel like you're a vehicle and life is love is the doer. It's something is going through you. Not things aren't coming from you, but they're going through you. Darwin used to say, don't think of yourself so much as a base of operations, which almost everybody does. Think of yourself as a conduit, as a vehicle. It's a different paradigm altogether. And musicians, sometimes they can feel when the singing is coming through them and not from them. Writers. Okay.
Elizabeth,
Oh.
go ahead.
So, hi, I just got here, sorry. This phrase, he also says, when once true adjustment between spirit and matter is secured, there is no phase of life that cannot be utilized for the expression of divinity. So I think that's the answer to, well, it seems, an answer to what Martha and, I think it was Martha and Ruthie were talking about. When you're going through phases and you feel like you just have to be quiet. I mean, that is still part of the expression of divinity. It's just, at least that seems to me, in my way of thinking, that that it's just a different phase and a different way, and perhaps a way of percolating, or perhaps a way of allowing some things from the intuition to come to the surface that one may not have the time to think about consciously.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think of Ken Richard there, letting a lot of that creative stuff kind of percolate inside of him, and then suddenly all these songs get written through him. It's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, and Heidi, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I go back and forth and reread, since I was an adolescent, Fragments from a Spiritual Diary by Narina Machiavelli. And the beautiful thing about this is it does kind of get you in touch with spirit, and then you can blend it with effort and grace, and you have a completeness, if you will, of experiencing your spirit. This stimulates that, and then you read Darwin and you kind of pull it together. For me, that works. So I just want to suggest, if you have it, to take a look at it. I think you can even download a PDF of this nowadays. But it's really beautiful because Baba speaks divine spirit as Baba speaks through Narina, so you could feel what it's like to have the experience of living in a physical body, but living as spirit. It's just really a beautiful kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in terms of some of the, Darwinisms, if you will, there's a little book I mentioned before by Florence Shinn called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she talks a lot about, in here, I think of Darwin a lot, but she has this relationship with spirit that she's not afraid to share, and helps other people share it. So, she'll say something like, here's an affirmation if you're confused. Infinite spirit, show me the way. And it's this complete trust of God as spirit. So I just wanted to share that. She's a lot of fun too, but it's parallel to what we're doing and Baba, but it's sort of it's fun.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And Cindy James.
I just read that discourse, those lines and discourses last week, and I've read it a few times. And I think since I've had a lot of interest in the body and health, Baba, the last day that he used his physical voice, in the end of Lord Mayhair, on that last day that he spoke, what I remember is there's two different times that Baba said to his Mandali, take care of your health. And then he said something like, you need vibrant or radiant health to serve God. And I think about that, like vibrant or radiant health. It might not be a body that has no issues, but that radiance, that deeper sense of the soul radiating through, that just changes everything and might actually change the body structure too. If it's just like if you eat more wild blueberries as opposed to cheesesteaks, that might be good for the body. It's more vibrant, maybe it's more vibrating, alive energy without the judgment. I mean, that's where the spiritualization of food I've gotten all caught up in. But I think about that, that last day when Baba spoke about the importance of our physical vehicle for it.
Yeah. Yeah, Kitty, boy, she lived to 100, but boy, she was still very physically dynamic as well, you know. Good use of the body.
Just a reference, when it talks in, I'm trying to think how to get this out, in reference to what Larry was asking, when it says bringing the kingdom of heaven on earth, someone made a comment that the significance of Baba's feet being lotus feet is where God touches earth in physical form, which I can understand that. So I'm wondering if there's any connection with Baba's lotus feet when it says the kingdom of heaven on earth. I wish I could finish that up, but I'm just remembering Cindy's reference to wild blueberries, and I take 2 cups a day, so I'm hoping that's going to help me out physically. I need it. Yeah, Baba's lotus feet. Pass.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, if there's any
You know,
correlation.
Before we go on, just to mention that sometime after 7, Stu is, you know, if anybody wants to stay and go through with him a heart-centered meditation, a Baba-filled meditation. It's short, but it's very impactful. But yeah, go ahead. We got more hands here.
It is 7 o'clock, but I think, Janet, you could be the last hand.
Yeah, this is just quick. I just kind of in reference to Martha and Ruth, what I find true is true for me, the being quiet with Baba for sure, but I need to go out into do my life, you know, connect with people and all of that, and to filter in what's being talked about. I mean, I don't like consciously necessarily think, am I filtering it in? But I have to see the reality of if the words and the spirit are actually impacting the reality of what of what's being presented to the world. That makes sense?
Yeah, say that last sentence again.
Well, the reality of the words and the concepts and the heartfelt taking in of Baba's presence, if that's reflected out in how I am interfacing with the world. So it becomes a two-way thing. It isn't just inside, but it's the inside relating to the outside. If there is something about that then I see a shift in, say, a relationship, or in how I'm responding to a certain event or experience in my own life, or my own body, or my own disabilities of whatever sort, or just that it has a basis in the reality of my interaction with matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, you can do so much, and then you have to sometimes regroup and, before you go out again. I mean, if I go out too much, then I have to kind of drop back and just say Baba's name inwardly for hours just to kind of regenerate, as we all do generally at the end of the day. But thank God we've got Baba's name that can help, and centering in him to regenerate.
Right.
All the interfacing with the world. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and all I'm saying is that I just have to have a reality check that I'm not getting too much in la la land with everything that Baba says, and that it's actually happening.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Down on earth.
Down on earth.
Yeah. So if there aren't any more questions.
Can I say something?
Oh, go ahead, Fred. Yeah. 6'6" guy.
Yeah, this reminds me of in my first few trips to India, 71, 72, 73. I'd come home so intoxicated. This was the Nixon era, and I had so many friends that were anti-war and they were against him. And I felt so much love for Nixon, for the world. I would look for my sister's flat. I arrived in Chicago at midnight, and I'm knocking on doors, just totally fearless, with love in my heart, not making ideas of what people are going to think of me. And that honeymoon, you could say, feeling lasted for months. And I feel when we have that in us, that intoxication of love, not just intoxication on whatever, that is the key to, that's actually probably, well, it's just pure love that you feel for people and you don't judge them. And the policeman, you hug him, you care for him, and you really mean it. And I remember feeling that feeling for several years. And boy, it'd be great to have that again.
Yeah, you'll get it eventually. Yeah. No, Darwin used to use the phrase sooner or later. He was very compassionate. Sooner or later, we're going to get this all back. And so shall we have if there aren't any more questions, we'll have a few moments of silence, and anyone that wants to stay on after we share a little bit, Stu will take us on a journey deep into the heart, into the infinite love. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you, Baba, for us getting together here in outer space. Let's go. Anybody wants to do this meditation, I find it very valuable, and unless there's a further question, let's go for it.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, J Bob, everybody. So just close your eyes and just settle into wherever you're sitting or laying, and let the world slip away even more during this time that we do this little journey. And start to take some deep, gradual breaths into your belly. And we'll keep this up during the meditation. And now follow that breathing into your heart and your heart space. which is the very special home in all of us for Mayor Baba's infinite love. And he said the hearts of his lovers are his real centers. So breathe into your heart space and notice whatever you might see or feel. And let's keep breathing in there another moment. It's the home of Baba's infinite love within us. And now pick somebody you'd like to share the infinite love with. It could be a person, even a group. Let your heart guide you, whoever comes up for you. And sharing this love can be incredibly powerful in a situation of conflict, but it doesn't have to be what you're doing. You can choose to focus on sharing the love with someone you already have great love for. You just would love to share even more. Or maybe somebody you know is in struggle. Just whoever arises. Again, let your own heart guide you. And get an image of them. And breathe into your image. Keep breathing into your belly. And get a good image. And now picture their heart and heart space. And notice whatever you might see and feel as you see whoever it is and their heart space. And what you see or feel might change as we go along in this experience. So focus on their heart and heart space and breathe into what you see and feel. And now picture Baba's infinite love start to flow into their heart space and just fill every bit and clean and soothe and heal. It's this infinite giving love. So I usually see this warm, liquid golden light this rich, delicious light just filling every bit of their heart. And it's soothing, cleaning, forgiving, inspiring. And keep breathing into seeing Baba's infinite giving love just fill and flow through their heart space. And see the love overflowing from their heart and heart space, and again, even flowing through their heart and now flowing into their entire being. This gift of infinite love, which can do miracles. And breathe in as you see and feel Baba's infinite love is continuing to flow. There's no end to this love. We cannot use it up. And let's continue to see the flow of this love for another moment. And notice now whatever you might see and feel. And now let's give thanks for this opportunity to focus on sharing Baba's infinite love with whoever's before you. And know that you can return here again and again. And gently bring your awareness back to your own heart and heart space. And breathe into your heart. And take note of what you might see and feel. And now start to see Baba's infinite love flowing into and filling your heart and heart space. Just flowing generously into every little corner in your heart and heart space. It's cleaning, soothing, forgiving, inspiring. And let yourself and your heart drink deeply of this love. And keep breathing in and letting your heart drink fully of Baba's infinite love. And see the love overflowing from your heart space and flowing right through and now filling every bit of you, every bit of your being. And let yourself experience the wonder of the endless flow of this infinite love. And let's continue to see and feel the flow of Baba's infinite love for another moment. And now let's give thanks for being able to partake of this incredible gift from Meher Baba. Who continuously loves us and sends his infinite love. And again, know that you can return here again and again. And now let's gently bring awareness back to your surroundings and wherever you're sitting or laying. And take a little time to adjust back. And whenever you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Okay, well, if anybody would like to share anything, we'd love to hear you. And just unmute yourself.
I'll share one quick thing.
Yeah.
When it came back to when I turned towards myself with Baba's love, I felt it was like he had to come in with one of those big hoses, you know, they use at the fire department, to come in to clean it all out, to clean out my whole heart first before golden light could enter. So there was a good hosing down of that interior mess and just sweeping that out before his love came in.
Yeah, beautiful. Ooh.
And then Ruth, it flowed in well once you got hosed.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great.
Thanks for asking, Stuart.
Yeah. That's a great image.
At the very end, I felt one of those sanskaras wash away. I felt something that was kind of niggling me a little bit. Even though I was feeling Baba's love, there was this little niggle. And then at the very end, all of a sudden, it just absolutely vanished.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Very touching.
Yeah.
That's like from the book.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I mentioned
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
it was like from the book. Mhm. I'm not I'm not talking about what Darwin went through. I'm talking one.
One complex less.
one complex less at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I mean, what was nice, what was interesting about it is the effortlessness on my part.
Yeah. That's the grace side of the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been doing is I kind of got into picturing Baba each week, which and I picture him much of the time in Mandalay Hall, from the movies where he walking back and forth, and picturing him being right there, and or in his bedroom. But at one point in there, suddenly I saw Jesus.
Mm.
I don't even think normally of Jesus, but there Baba kind of changed into Jesus, and much younger. I mean, I'm picturing Baba in Mandalay Hall, old and in pain, and moving slowly, and then suddenly this Jesus who's all alive appears. I have no how to explain that, but anyway, I enjoy this spending time with Baba in this meditation.
Yeah. Jeff, again, just for a moment, while we're just in prolonged silence, I keep this, it's maybe my favorite picture of Baba with me as I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was sharing his own love with him, and I kind of saw him, taking it in, but then his hands are also going, and sending it back at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a wonderful way of focusing.
Yeah.
I was seeing him, I was like on the bridge, the footbridge with him. And when I was like in his heart, it just everything got so expansive. It just went out to forever. It felt like. And this morning I was thinking, and then it came up again at the end of this meditation about like putting like the things that my sanskaras are, stuff in my head that I want to, it's just picture it going into like a garbage disposal. And so it's just getting all liquefied and can easily just sort of fall out through the bottom. So it feels good to have that image for a while anyway.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, very nice.
Fred, just a moment. I saw Gigi in the back. Give her my love.
Oh, okay, sure will. Yeah, she usually doesn't like to be spotted.
I saw her. We caught her on camera.
Thank you. Will do.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, boy.
This is Janaki.
Yeah.
What the image that kept coming to my mind of in the heart was just this, a lot of junk in there and holes and rust and slime, and when Baba's love was cleaning it out, it was like part of it was shiny and kind of like iron, because I was reading that poem by Steve Klein about the heart of iron being attracted to Baba, you know, just being like a magnet. So the magnet can carry him with him and draw him to him. And also I also thought of, or what came was an image of soil, like garden soil, and he's taking all those weaknesses and planting his love in there, and it's just so beautiful how the weaknesses can be both the weakness and the strength.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So, Stu, this is Elizabeth. I think I might have been brain dead or something during this meditation, but we did the play today, so that took 4 hours on Zoom, so that was a lot. But not the play, but everything that it entailed. Anyway, so but what I did feel is a sense of peace. I did have a person in mind, and I tried to see their heart, and that heart was purple. I don't know what that means. And then somehow I just lost track. I don't even remember when you said to bring Baba back to you. But the only thing I remember is that it was almost like I was sleeping, and it was extremely peaceful. And maybe because it was so lovely being with all those people today. And it was just pretty, maybe that's why, you know, just a lot of peace.
Yay, peace.
No, that feels very nice, Elizabeth.
We got something from Shraddha here.
Hey, Jeff was just about to leave. Say bye-bye, everyone. Such beautiful meditation.
Thank you, Shraddha.
I always love it. It's just like it's heart-centered. It just brings your focus back to Baba and deeply connects us. Thank you so much, Stuart.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Is that Peter Goodman there? Well, this is a beautiful time together, really is.
Well, Jeff, I would ask you this because everybody
Can't hear you, Ruth.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Jeff?
Oh.
No?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask Jeff, if he can't hear me.
Oh, we're not hearing you, Ruth.
Okay. Well, then it must not be the time to ask.
Ruthie, everybody else can hear you.
I know, but I wanted to check with Jeff to see if he would be willing to do this again when we finish the book.
I don't know if we have an answer yet from him.
Uh-oh.
Jeff, can you hear?
Oh, you know what? I don't know, somehow now I can hear everybody. Oh,
Okay. Well, my question, Jeff, was just whether you'd be willing to do effort and grace from the beginning again in the future.
Well, we could put it before everybody.
There are a lot of people that were asking for it, and I just didn't know if it was something you had considered or would consider.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valuable journey. I mean, I kind of thought, wow, can I go through this thing again? I mean, I've spent so much time around Darwin, and every time we go through it, it's like all new to me. I mean, it's like, oh, how did I miss all of that? You know, so there's some timeless insights in there that they just, you can't remember them in the chronological way. They're just facets of this diamond of Baba, you might say. Well, it depends on what people think, and you know, how long to do it. I mean, if I do it, I think we should do it every week, because if you do it every other week, it's hard to remember. Was it last week? You know, especially with time as messed up as it is during this pandemic. What do you folks feel? I mean, there are just a few of you here.
Well, there was some voting going on in the chat.
Uh-huh.
During the meeting, where people were saying, you know, everyone in favor say aye, and there were like 3 ayes after that. So I think people are you know, are very invested in this group as a whole, because it's so enriching, and you do such a wonderful job with Angela moderating it, and you know, so people just don't want to see it come to an end so much. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I would be willing to do it if people are up for it, and and if and then you know, we can. I think that even the format. I mean, people speaking the way they do, we've never had a conflict like someone saying, "What, you know, bullshit, buddy," or "What are you saying?" You know, well, you know what I mean? There's a real genuine respect for each person's way with Baba. You know, their approach to Baba, and yeah, and I think everybody. I mean, what they share is so relevant and so touching, and so I think we all help each other a lot. You know, so.
It was a lot more than 3 votes in favor. I think half the people on were saying, please keep it up, Jeff.
Yeah. Well,
you read more than I did.
When we get to the end, which is maybe a couple more sessions, maybe we'll see what people feel.
Okay.
You know,
another thing, Jeff, is I joined late when the group started, so I didn't hear the beginning part. So, you know, I started at maybe page 50 or something. So there are a lot of people, I think, who haven't participated, who would love to participate, you know, who would love to, from the beginning, you know, and maybe different people are interested, you know.
Yeah. And oddly enough, if you miss a few sessions, it's not a problem, because each session is independent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they link together, but you know, people think, oh well, I missed a few sessions. There's no point in me jumping back in, but you can jump into this at any time.
Yeah, it's not linear. There's, like you said, there's just these diamonds, facets.
Yeah, I just can't. I don't know how he did this. It was just amazing.
But it reminds me of the discourses, you know, because every time you read a discourse, there's something new that comes up, something hits you differently.
Yeah.
You know, a phrase, a word, you know,
Yeah.
how to interpret something. And then what's so interesting is to see everybody else's interpretation of the same thing. Might be totally different perspective. And I think that happens all the time with effort and grace.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's deceptive. It sounds simple and it's not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel like it's really drawing our awareness from the kind of more superficial realm into the deeper realms of our heart. And if it eventually gets to the divine qualities that are really at the deepest part of us, and then be able to remain there, that is a beautiful life, where the divine qualities are coming right from Baba, you know, forgiveness, generosity, kindness, you know, humor, all of these things coming in that is the kind of life that Darwin got to enjoy.
You know, Jeff, in addition to all of that, which is of course the kernel of it, but just the group itself for me is vitally important. I mean, just my life is not around Baba people. I don't have Baba people in my environment. I mean, people know I'm into Baba, but the people I'm around just aren't Baba people. And so for me to have this forum in which to feel connected to Baba people I can't even tell you the value of it for me.
Yeah.
It's invaluable.
Yeah, you're right there. It's just, you know, Baba said one of the high roads of surrendering to God is to live in the company of, be in the company of lovers of God and render them wholehearted service. But meaning that the being around fellow lovers of God and fellow Baba lovers is one of the high roads to surrendering. You know, because we help each other. We're just all. I always say, if I lived in Dallas, Texas, you know, I would have lived a entirely different life than being around so many Baba people that inspired me in ways that I wouldn't have seen. I wouldn't have seen the beauty of a lot of these different divine qualities that are embodied in the different Baba people. Not all in one person, but, you know, this person has got a great sense of humor. This person is very generous. This person is fearless. This person is forgiving, and you benefit. I have benefited tremendously by seeing the beauty of the divine qualities that the different ones of the Baba people embody. And, you know, it's helped me. I don't feel competitive. I feel like, oh, wow, look at that. Look at that honesty of that person. It's a different kind of honesty than I'm that's the real spontaneous honesty. And my soul sees that and says, you know, wow, open to that. Take that in. That's near to where you want to be. Yeah. Great help. And then if Stu sticks around, we can twist his arm. Yeah. Anyway, I think, oh, gee whiz, I'm getting a Charlie horse. Yikes.
Oh, no.
Sitting a long time.
Yeah, you got to get up and walk.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just stretched it out.
All right.
So, yeah, we'll see what, you know, what people think.
Good.
Should it be an hour? Should it be an hour and a half? You know?
This format works. It's just, it eats up a lot of your time on Sunday evening.
No, I don't, you know, don't worry about my time.
Well, are you doing the late night chat tonight?
Yeah, there'll be a late night chat.
Tonight, I know, that's what I'm thinking. That's kind of.
No, don't worry about that.
Okay.
You know, it all comes out in the wash.
Stu, I hope you're feeling better.
What's that?
I just was saying I hope Stu is feeling better, his back.
Yeah, you're back.
I am better. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Bob, everybody.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I'm
Papa.
gonna go myself.
Yeah.
You
All right.
guys, Katie, or
Bye.
Jake, I don't know if you're there, but and Lanita, great to see you. Janaki, Denny, and Ken and Donna are over there somewhere. Rosalie, it's been, turned the light off in her house.
Thank you, Jeff. Going over to see Rick Chapman now. It's 8
Yeah.
o'clock.
Good. Yeah. And
Rick
Peter,
Chapman.
great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Jeff,
Say
Hey,
Bob,
Papa.
everybody.
see you, Jeff.
Hey,
Jay
J
Bob.
Bob, I'm gonna go.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Baba. Jai Baba. See you, Ken.
Thank you. Say bye bye.
Katie.
Jai Baba, Rosalie.
Say bye bye, Ruth.